Interface Video, in cooperation with Fairfield Federal, presents Fairfield Today. Brought to you by Fairfield Federal Savings and Loan, Fairfield Medical Center, Fair Hope Hospice and Palliative Care, the Frankie Smith Funeral Home, Fairfield County Adam H., Dagger Law, and the Fairfield County Board of Developmental Disabilities.
Hello friends, and welcome to Fairfield Today. Thanks for joining us on this Tuesday morning, at least as we're taping it. It's Tuesday morning. You may see it at another opportune time. We're glad you do. We're here in the beautiful lobby of Fairfield Federal downtown, where they continue to celebrate their Quasquicentennial. They'll have more about that in our commercials. We'll talk a little bit more about it later, but it's still going on. 125 years of banking revolving around you. FairfieldFederal.com is a place to go for that. Thank you for joining us today. We're well into winter here in Lancaster and Fairfield County, and we'll open up the show today with one of the folks we haven't had on for a while. We'll talk about it, but a year ago when things started to break down, about right now, or maybe a little bit later for what would become a horrific 2020, the Glass Museum was kind of caught in that right at the beginning. So it's a pleasure to have on Mike Shook. Mike is the Executive Director, President, Chief Cook and Bottle Washer of the Glass Museum down there. Mike, first of all, thanks for joining us.
Oh,
glad you make it out on a snowy time here. And
yeah, well, the sun's shining. It's a little brisk, but
that's Lancaster. You've been here long enough. You know this is Ohio. This is Lancaster. It's what we do.
That's right.
So again, just as a quick recall here, a year ago, somewhere around now, maybe March a little bit, you guys are just getting ready to roll, and boy, it broke loose, and it kind of caught you guys short, and it was a rough beginning for you.
Oh, absolutely. The year, we came off a banner year in 2019. 2020 was shaping up with, we were going to roll into 2020 with all this momentum coming out of 19 with the countdown, our downtown countdown event.
Yep.
So we just had our spurs on, and we
ready
were ready to ride.
Oh my!
And February is a little soft, anyways, and then the pandemic set in, and we closed mid-March, and we did not reopen until almost the end of June. June 23rd, we reopened. And the old saying, build it and they will come. Open the doors, will they come?
Will they come?
Will they come? Well, by that time, I think everybody had a little cabin fever, and they were ready to get out and about. And we offered them a safe alternative to be out and about, because we social distancing and sanitizing and masking, we were all in. So you're welcome to come into our museum and feel safe and secure in that environment. So we opened the doors, and they did come, and they started in June, and July, and August, and September, and the momentum just kept going, and we got into October, and we're starting to get into the seasonal holiday mindset in November and December, and my gosh, Paul, we were blessed last year in spite of everything that happened.
Sure.
And we even had a couple instances where we had to close for a couple weeks, where we had some people on the staff that got exposed. No one ever contracted, but were exposed.
Yes.
And we erred on the side of caution.
Sure.
So we were being responsible in that regard. But doggone it, 2020, in spite of everything, and I feel almost ashamed.
You're not bragging.
To say it, but we had an unbelievable year in spite of everything.
Well, what I'm finding with a lot of businesses, certainly the nonprofits, the museums, and even a lot of businesses, about a year ago, coming up in a year, had to make so many dramatic changes, had to do things that you've never done before, thinking outside the box. Those kind of words and phrases were used. But what we saw, and you can tell me about you, I think we've seen that you've had to make so many changes, not you, but you'll tell me, that businesses and nonprofits had to make so many changes to accommodate the COVID situation. And now, when that's hopefully on the downswing now, they found that some of the things they've done are things that will carry over, that they'll continue to do.
Oh, absolutely, Paul. I know, we're all in our comfort zone, and we just, to a point, almost to a fault of being complacent.
Unlock the door, they'll come in, lock the door, we'll come back tomorrow.
Yeah, and it's business as usual.
Sure.
And in this case, business was not as usual. We knew and we know we've all had to alter both our personal lives as well as our professional lives and the way we operate. And the museum was no exception to that.
Sure.
And anybody that knows me, they probably get tired of hearing Mike say this. And this is one of my axioms of my life. Necessity is the mother of invention. And we've had to figure out how to operate differently and operate safely.
To survive.
To maintain our business and maintain the traffic and our revenue stream that's essential to a nonprofit.
Yeah.
So we made some significant changes, and some of them were a little painful because a lot of them had financial impact.
Yeah.
And how do you support that when your revenue stream is threatened? Just what can you do, and how are we going to do it? And we responded as a board, put together our budget committee, and we just kind of took a step back and said, this is what we got to do. So there was some physical responsibility that we took to change the way we operated. Everything from, we had upholstered chairs in our auditorium, and we said, we can't maintain those and keep those sanitized.
Sure.
And again, with the leap of faith, we offered our board members, will you sponsor a chair? And our board members responded, and we have now 30 brand new chairs, which we can sanitize.
A surface that you can.
And so after we have visitors come in our auditorium, we can sanitize those. We are now, we have virtual glass blowing demonstrations.
Sure.
We are live streaming from our glass blowing studio into our auditorium. So you can come in and watch glass blowing demonstrations in high definition on a big screen, and surprisingly, the experience of our visitors, I've watched and I've listened and how they respond to it, as well as our artists. I think it's energized our artists because now they have
a little more challenge to them.
Yes.
Yeah. Well,
so just things like that have made, and to your point, some of these things we may continue.
Well, we're going to talk in a little bit about a new way of revenue streaming and doing things, and as you move into this year now, we've got a year under our belt and how to handle things. But first I want to talk about, here we are, the middle of February now. You're getting ready to close the Planes, Trains, and Automobiles exhibition that now you have going on. That's in, I think, a couple weeks or a few weeks away.
Right.
And then a new one's coming in. So here we are in the middle of March, the end of Planes, Trains, Automobiles.
Planes, Trains, and Automobiles will cease to exist around March the 1st.
Okay, a couple weeks away.
And we'll start transitioning our main gallery into our next exhibit, which will, the plans are right now to launch that exhibit March the 12th.
Okay.
And it's, I think it's a kind of whimsical look at how glass was used in days gone by. And it's called La-Dee-Da.
I like that. That's very casual, very fun.
Right. And so I think it'll have a very fun, and very frilly, and a very whimsical exhibit to share with the public.
And that starts a month away, March 12th?
March the 12th is the planned date.
Okay. So just quickly then, from now, this Planes, Trains, Automobile has been well attended.
It has. It has been well attended. And we held it over, and it didn't start off so well because the day we were going to have our gala opening, guess what? That was the day we closed. So we had all these people invited, our donors, our board members.
Best laid plans.
We had some adult beverages and some food already prepared, and just the rug got pulled out from beneath us.
But like you say, necessity, adaptation, be flexible.
Exactly.
So one of the things you talked about a couple minutes ago was how you've had to not only change how you let people in, how you do things physically in the business, you've had to look at how you fund a nonprofit, how you fund the museum. Things are different now. They've changed, and hopefully for the better.
They have, and again, it's become being a little bit resourceful. Again, how can we do something that we've never done before? One of those is, of course, membership drives is important.
You need members and money.
We need members and money, and we've been able to establish a beachhead on those fronts by allowing and adding the ability to renew or have a new membership on our website.
Oh, nice.
And the other feature that we created was what we're calling our sustainability program.
Ongoing.
And it is a continuous revenue stream.
And if you watch enough public television, you know that's what they want.
Exactly.
They'll take a one-time gift, but if you can make a sustainable gift that would go each month where your business can count on it and it automatically comes out. And that's how it is, right? It'll just come out. You never have to touch. Everything's electronic.
It's a debit account. We do not maintain any of your information about your credit cards or your bank accounts or anything. And it's the ideal way, again, to continuously give and support the museum or any nonprofit for that matter, without, again, wow, I got to get out my checkbook and write a check again this month.
Yeah, we know that's after a couple months the thrill is gone.
Yeah, and again, there's options there as far as the frequency for making that contribution. So these things were added to our website. Another thing that we've added to our website was online shopping.
Really?
For the last couple of years, I said, I see a shopping cart in our future. So, by golly, we can go to our gift shop online. Once again,
and that's kind of how people want to do a lot of that now. They don't. It's wintertime, A, and B.
Right.
If you can buy something and you get it sent to you, is that how it's all going to work?
You know what? You can come in, pick it up. You let us know. We'll bring it out to your car.
Nice.
Or we've had a tremendous amount of sales from out of state and out of town.
This is a real opportunity there.
And we will. Again, there's a shipping and handling fee to do that, but we're seeing a growth.
Yep.
In some momentum in
that catches
people
on.
shopping that way.
So give us your website information. How can people get on there?
Well, it's OhioGlassMuseum.org, and actually we're in the process of reworking our domain right now.
Every website is being rebuilt or being kind of added on to now to accommodate all these things that people are doing.
Exactly. So if by any chance, if you try to get onto our website today, and you get some kind of a message, fear not. It's something that's being worked on.
Put that on hold if you come back to it.
Oh my
so
gosh,
again, it's OhioGlassMuseum.org. They're looking for members. They're looking for sustainability where you can help them in other ways too. All that information is on there. They've got a shopping cart where you can go to their gift shop and get that. Maybe not today, but it's coming. So keep trying.
The gift shop is online.
Okay.
I mean, you can shop online for sure.
Very good.
I'll tell you another thing that
got about a minute.
Got us through last year, and that's our grants. And I know a lot of it was made through the CARES Act, so there was a lot of state and local, state, and federal funds out there, and those have helped us immensely to survive.
Well, if you've never been to the Ohio Glass Museum, like I say, before Mike came on as the board chairman, Mike Shook, chairman of the board of the Ohio Glass Museum, we used to have Ann Kiffin on. Tremendous. Everybody knows Ann. She's a
great
force
asset to us.
in Lancaster, and fortunate to have her with
been
you.
our artistic director for many years.
She does a great job. So give them a call. Your phone number is
740-687-0101.
0101. Call that. Go on their website, OhioGlassMuseum.org. We're looking for a great 2021. Good luck with La Dee Da.
Yes.
We'll have you back and talk about that. That sounds like great fun.
Might even have Ann come in and talk to you.
That'd be nice. The Ohio Glass Museum, Mike Shook with us, chairman of the board.
Thank you, Paul.
We'll be back on Fairfield Today in just a moment.
The Frankie Smith Funeral Home and Crematory in Lancaster and the Johnson Smith Funeral Home in Baltimore have a long and wonderful history of serving our community. Feel free to give us a call at 740-653-0652. Stop in and see us at either of our two locations, 405 North Columbus Street in Lancaster and 207 South Main Street in Baltimore. Respect for tradition, regard for change.
Fairfield Federal. When it comes to our customers and our community, we go above and beyond to help. Our people make the difference.
We were retiring from Tucson, Arizona, and we made a retirement trip out around Ohio, having decided that's where we wanted to be. And we came across this town called Lancaster, and we fell in love with the downtown area, where the fountain is, and the memorials, and the flags, and all this stuff. And I looked around and I said, there's our bank right there.
There's something to be said about a community bank in your hometown.
Right. If you live in the community, you should do business in the community as much as possible. So it makes sense to bank with the community bank where you live.
Fairfield Federal is the bank to be at. If you live in this town, or any town actually, you want to bank at a local home bank. And the employees are happy here. They're conversant. Customer service is through the roof. There's nothing more you could ask for.
Personal or business banking, whatever you need, we take it seriously because we know you do. Stop by today at any of our 3 locations and see why the difference is clear. Fairfield Federal Savings and Loan specializes in banking that revolves around you.
Member FDIC Equal Housing Lender.
We are back on Fairfield today. Thanks for joining us, and we're here in the lobby of Fairfield Federal, where again, expectation was not to celebrate their quasquicentennial into 2021, but a lot of people are doing things different now from how it was in 2020 versus 2021. So they're still banking that revolves around you in the new year, 2021. FairfieldFederal.com is the place for that. And talking about business as usual and people that had to make some changes, I think we've got the right guy in for that. David Uhl, President of Lancaster City Council. Chief, good to have you on.
Thanks, Paul. Great to be here.
Good to have David Uhl on with us and talk about City Council. I guess we begin, as I've done every interview with every person, no matter what it's been for the past, since we've come back in April of last year, what has been the impact overall of your job as City Council President? How has it affected you folks?
Yeah, well, there was an impact for sure on the city, and we can talk about that in a moment. I know you've talked with others about the impact. For City Council, there was an impact in that, once everything really shut down with the group our size, 9 council members plus myself, plus the administration, plus department heads, and then oftentimes the public, we had to shift how we did business, and the state government passed a law that allowed us to begin meeting virtually. That was never really an option for us before the legislative body had to.
And I'm sure nobody ever did that.
No, and and that got extended into the new year as well. And so this summer we did, when things were kind of not going well with numbers, made that transition where we were meeting via Zoom, and we still have members from time to time who, for whatever reason, can't be there, and they still have the ability to call in telephonically and be a part of the meeting, and none of that was possible before. And it may not be possible in the future, but during COVID, the state government realized that we had to, the business of the city had to continue forward, and the legislative body is the core of ensuring that happens. And so we did have some Zoom virtual meetings that were completely open to the public. They could watch and see everything that was going on, which was the requirement from the state government. So that certainly had an impact on what we did. We are back in person now, but with limited capacity in council chambers. And so we can only fit probably 15 or so people
with the distancing.
Yeah, that's right. And many times those seats are taken up, at least initially, by department heads who are required to be there to provide insight on what legislation is being passed. And so, but it's still available online. And so you can watch online, you can watch on Spectrum. There are many ways to access and see what's happening in the room, even if you can't be in the room.
Obviously the preference and the requirement was to hold your monthly meeting, to be there, to be in person. If COVID were to end today, would you still consider any of that Zoom meeting stuff, or is it always going to be here on out, as long as it's physically possible to be there live?
Yeah, the state government is likely going to, that law will end.
Just put it up there for a time and...
Yeah. And so once everything's back to at least more normal and we're not so concerned about crowds, then we'll likely not have the opportunity or ability from a legal standpoint to meet virtually. It will be back in person.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the COVID, about the effect that it had on the city, unemployment, things. It had to have an impact on monies and things that you deal with on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, it sure did. When we were trucking right along January, February, and into March, and then when everything shut down, you can just look at the numbers and see unemployment, skyrocketed.
Pick out the day it happened.
Yep. And so April and May were, because oftentimes there's a lag of about a month or so in unemployment numbers, and so for us, we really saw that impact April, May, June. And then we saw it begin to decrease. And so today, for January, I think we're at 4.9%.
Right.
Which is, in the midst of everything that's happening, not bad.
Yeah. Was it much different
Double
before or
digits.
after?
Double
It got
digits
up to
after.
double digits.
Yeah, I think it was 10, 12 here in Lancaster, and back down to 4.9. And so that's good. That still means there are a lot of people not working yet, but
Do we think the trend is?
it's continuing to decline. And so I think that as more things open up, and as we're seeing at least right now in the news the last few days of numbers going down.
Ohio's looking, compared to maybe some other places in the country, when I hear the governor speak, the 21-day average or whatever they call that, the rolling average, is improving each day actually.
Yeah, so our expectation is the economy is going to follow along with that, and that's the hope. But there was an impact there. There's an impact on city services as well. I know you talked with the fire chief, and the reality is that we had a number of safety forces who were on the front lines who contracted COVID.
The chief said 50%, maybe up to 50% of his force contracted. Not always were sick, but I mean that's an impact.
It is an impact, and it's an impact on our ability to provide the service. It's an impact on overtime when people have to cover for other people to ensure the right number of staff who are on, and so certainly there was a significant impact on personnel. Another impact was on our utility department. There was a moratorium where people couldn't be shut off for not paying, and they took advantage of that moratorium, and so utility collection was lagging way behind, and continues to work to catch up today as we move forward. And so just unprecedented things that no matter what industry or organization you're a part of, experienced before, and that's true for the city as well. There's been a significant impact.
And something that you're used to this by now is the election season's coming up. It happens every year, every 2 years, every 4 years, and we're on that season again now where everybody's getting petitions out there. Things have to sign up. People come, go, they retire, they move on. Things happen. Much effect on your job down there at the city council?
So it is election season, and all 10 members of City Council are up in this year. And so petitions were due February 3rd. Petitions were due. And so when we know that everyone's up, petitions were being circulated.
You'll know who's in, who's out.
On the 3rd, we would know. And so the reality is that for someone who's running at large, so there are 4 at-large members, 3 who are part of the legislative body, and then the president of council. We can get anyone in the city to sign our petition, and we need 50 good ones.
Yeah.
But where we see a significant issue is with our 6 ward council people.
Has to be somebody in their ward.
That's right. So
50 good ones.
They need 25
Okay.
good ones. So you want to get 50 to make sure you have
Sure.
enough. And they had a difficult time getting people to answer the doors because
Well,
it can't
that's an
just
issue.
be everybody like it is for at-large. And so I know several people running for a ward council seat who had a challenging time getting their petitions finished. So there's that impact all around of COVID and people not wanting to be, we do the whole delivery thing, and we select to leave it at the door. We're not talking to you, you're not talking to us, and so it's just a different way of doing business here.
So I guess the only thing constant is change.
That's right.
And again, new faces, and you'll again after when you get all the numbers in from February 3rd, you'll know at least who's in the mix.
Yeah, and we know a lot of them.
Sure.
Surely not everyone contacts us. I try to meet with anyone who's interested and wants help through the process.
Yeah.
That happens to be on the same side of the spectrum that I'm on.
Sure.
Politically from the Republican side of things, and so we know that there's someone running in the first ward if petitions clear. So there's the submitting the petitions, and there's the Board of Elections certifying them.
Yes.
And if no one has
Those are big hurdles.
Yes. If no one has issues with their petitions, then we would see someone running in one against Melody, who's a Democrat. And then all around the table, we see a couple of new faces, a new Republican running in the 5th Ward where Holly Miller Downhour is currently. Her name's Christina Kreitz. And then Jennifer Sitterly running at large. I think Norman Hall is elected not to run, and so we're trying to make sure we have 3 solid people in that spot: Don McDaniel, Corey Schoonover, and now Jennifer Sitterly. And so at least 2 new faces that we know of, and
guaranteed.
Depending on, I think Pete Sanderell may be challenging Becky Tiener in her position, so we may even have a primary this May as we go forward. Oftentimes we'll all kind of just move to the general election without a primary opponent, but we may see a primary challenge this May. We'll have to see what shakes out.
That's politics for you, isn't it?
That's right.
As you indicated, the chief was just on, Chief Ward from the fire department. We talked about what a big impact the levy was on, because we talked with everybody pre-November, and we talked to some of them post-November on that, but that's had a major impact on moving the city forward.
Yeah, it sure has. When 80% or so of your general fund is allocated out to safety forces, that's not really any more money to do anything with the rest of the city with. And we have to have those safety forces, and we need more safety forces, and we know that we're not paying competitive wages for our safety forces.
He said sometimes it's almost like a training ground here. They get on here, and then they get it, and then bang.
And that costs us a bunch of money in training that person, and them leaving, and then training the new person. And so we have to get our wages more competitive.
Retention.
But we can do that now because the safety force has passed, and so we can't say thank you enough to the citizens of Lancaster. There are oftentimes when you have a levy like that complaints, they're just threatening safety forces, they need to cut other places. But when you look at the budget and 80% go to safety forces, there's nothing else to cut. So we were so pleased, and we know we need more, and there are more in the budget this year. I think 4 each, new fire, 4 new police, and you say, that's it? Over the next couple of years, there'll be at least 4 more in each one of those years. And the reality is that it takes forever to onboard someone, to recruit,
he
to
was
onboard,
indicating
to train.
that, like just saying, okay, we need 4 people. Well, they won't be here tomorrow.
No, they won't. And and it's only because that levy passed that we're able to move forward. It's only because that levy passed that we're able to look at our wages and say, how is it possible that Groveport pays more to their police officers than we pay here in the city of Lancaster? We've got to fix that, or else we're going to continue to lose officers to other cities and municipalities.
And in many cases, these are people that have been here quite a few years and think, why do I need to do this? Why not? It's for my family, for my future.
And that's understandable. Again, there seems to be from time to time with certain people a thought that, government workers, we have to pay competitive wages. We have to pay market rate wages, or we're not going to retain people, and then we're not going to be able to provide the support and service to the citizens of Lancaster that they expect and that they should receive. And so I can't, again, say thank you enough to Brad and Jen and everyone who worked so hard to move that levy forward in November. And because of that, it lessens the burden on the general fund, because we now have these dollars dedicated to safety forces, where we can do a few other things that have needed to be done as well that weren't even on the radar a year or 2 ago because the dollars just weren't available.
I've got about a minute left. I guess that's all part of this salary review thing that's now going on, and these are the kind of questions you'll be looking at.
Yeah, and in particular, we're starting with non-union, non-management employees for the city to make sure that we're paying competitive wages. Then we'll jump up to non-union management. And then when it comes to the bargaining units, our safety forces and the 4 unions that we have in the city, they'll bargain and work their way through what those contracts will look like over the next few years. I can tell you that one of the contracts that we just negotiated was a 5% increase over the next 3 years. And again, that's working just to get wages up to about where they need to be. And so again, we talk, that's a huge raise. I don't get a 5% raise. Wages are lagging way behind in the city for our safety forces, and we have to fix it.
And just a quick comment here before we wrap it up. You're losing a good man. A friend of mine is retiring here at the end of the month, Bill Burrows, with the sanitation department. He's been there a long time, come up through the ranks. He's the head guy now. And, there'll be a change in there, but I just wanted to give Bill a shout out here because I've had him on when the new containers were coming on. And Bill's, as you know, more than most, Bill's a matter-of-fact kind of guy. He'll pretty much tell you how it is, at least to how he sees it. So you're losing good people, and you got to keep that moving.
That's right, and we have to be able to, retain or attract the talent we need to keep stuff going. And, again, I know we're running out of time, but quickly, Bill and the toters was a big deal.
Yeah.
Bill and the compost there are certain things that happened in the last couple of years
Yeah.
that Bill worked really hard on. And
Had
so
a lot on his plate.
Yes, he did.
Anyway, speaking a lot on his plate, President of City Council, David Uhl, with us. David, thank you for joining us. We'll get you back on here as the year moves on, and we know there's a lot of changes going on, and they will continue to change.
Yes, they will.
Good luck.
Thanks, Paul.
Thank you. David Uhl with us, and David, of course, is again the President of Lancaster City Council. Appreciate him being on with us on Fairfield Today.
Interface Video, in cooperation with Fairfield Federal, presents Fairfield Today. Brought to you by Fairfield Federal Savings and Loan, Fairfield Medical Center, Fair Hope Hospice and Palliative Care, the Frankie Smith Funeral Home, Fairfield County Adam H., Dagger Law, and the Fairfield County Board of Developmental Disabilities.